hear me. Before we start, I'm following an excellent talk there, so apologies, mine's not as intricate. But I think I'm going to discuss today are things that you can actually take away and implement without the help of an agency, essentially. Sorry, Mike. But yeah, everything I'll discuss is that you guys can literally go on within your businesses, if you're a business owner or marketer, and literally implement without me, anybody else. So yeah, let's crack on. But I will be discussing, actually, let's go on to that, is the big changes. For those that are using paid social ads, we had a big update last year, and there were some big changes, and essentially a lot of people using Facebook ads suddenly sort of said it was broken. We're then going to be discussing my pro tip for anyone using social media for both paid and organic. And then finally, we're going to be giving away this free ad strategy. Now, I wrote this because so many companies reach out to us and they just don't have the resource or the revenue to be able to use an agency. So this is a way that you can actually start using paid social media, Facebook and Instagram ads, and just get used to it. Because I'm a big believer that before you go out to speak to an agency, you should have at least some knowledge of it yourself before you go out to market. If you would like one of these at the end, and I've got about 20 left. I had 1,500 produced at the beginning of the year, so I've got 20 left. If not, there is a QR code that you can download one after the presentation. So, what broke Facebook ads last year? Well, it was really simple. Apple decided to give its users the ability to opt out of being tracked on their devices. And as all of us, you can see on our tables now, mobiles, that's how we're using the internet mostly, and mostly social media. Now, when Apple did this, we knew that there was going to be an issue straight away. And in terms of percentage, I wasn't expecting that percentage to be so high. Can someone just shout out of 100%, what percentage of people opted out of tracking on their phone? What do you reckon? 72? Anybody else? Come on, please. Thank you. No, it was 96.7, which is huge. So for all of us running paid social ads, people that are then moving away from these platforms onto our landing pages, our splash pages, our websites, what we couldn't see in real time was how that user was interacting with us and our brand outside of Facebook and outside of Instagram. Now, for us as marketers and business owners, that's a nightmare because we want to know how people are engaging with our brand away from social media, because we want really ultimately conversions. We want people to actually go ahead and purchase online or become a lead to our business. Now, in terms of that, I've lost your train of thought then. In terms of that engagement, that's a word that I want to use a lot during this presentation, because when we use social media, it's the number one rule we always have to abide by when we're running a paid or organic campaign. Are we engaging that user? And I might annoy some of you here, so apologies. You know the Meet the Team videos we all do, or some of us do, you meet Dave in accounts and Jess, head of sales. That isn't engaging your customers, I'm afraid. The likes you get on that are the 4 people in the video. It's not engaging your prospects and customers. And I know a lot of people do them, but what we've got to remember is when we're posting online, are we engaging that user? And if you genuinely don't believe it's going to, don't do it. We all get into a rut, especially as business owners, that, we're looking at our competitors, they're posting this type of content, whether it's organic, or we must do that, we tweak it a little bit and we do our own spin on it. That's not good enough now. The days of social media, in terms of the volume we're putting out, is gone. It's now based on quality. So if you are one of those businesses that are just posting for the sake of posting, or use things like Buffer, which I know a lot of people use, stop doing it. These social media platforms don't want that. They want genuine content that's going to engage their users. Because especially with Facebook and Instagram, they've now got a competitor of TikTok. We're all vying for that piece of the pie, which is how long we can keep someone on our platform, so then us as advertisers can spend money on them. So you've always remember, in terms of that engagement piece, is it engaging the user? And if it's not, just don't do it. But then what does that mean in terms of that engagement piece from a paid side? Now, not a lot of people know this, and this is why a lot of people have run paid ads before and gone, it didn't work for me, is that they didn't engage that user. Now, Facebook has a very clever way of pricing you bad marketers out. And if you don't engage your users, they'll increase your CPM, which is the cost per thousand impressions that we get charged to get our content in front of users on social media. So let's say your CPM setup is £10 and you're a good marketer. What Facebook will do is they'll just keep decreasing your CPMs to a level that's manageable. If you're a bad marketer, they'll price you out of the market. And this is why a lot of B2B firms still to this day go, oh, social didn't work for me. It's not that social can't work, you just haven't engaged your audience. And it's back to that piece of engagement. You've got to engage your audience. Because Facebook, as people were saying with Google, these are really intelligent computers. They know how we're engaging. And engaging isn't just about likes or shares or comments. It's just actually when you're going through your feed and someone just glances an eye, that, from a social perspective, is that engagement there. It's not something we can monitor massively, but it's just that engagement. You've got to stop, we use the term stop the scroll. Sometimes it's not just stopping the scroll, it's just having that quick glance at that brand. That's sometimes just the engagement we need. But that's how Facebook and Instagram have very cleverly priced people out of the market. And that's why, from a B2B perspective, a lot of B2B firms fail using things like Facebook and Instagram because they haven't engaged the audience with genuine, engaging content. Because your audience is there, you just need to engage with them. Now, you'll see that figure there, which is 3%. I'm going to pick on you, just because you shout out last time. Your Facebook or your Instagram company page, how many followers have you got? How many? Okay, that's a lot. I was expecting like a couple of hundred, so you've done me there. When you do an organic post, on average, we're seeing around only 3% of those users even seeing that content. Now, a lot of firms here potentially would have, you've got stakeholders going, we need more following, we need more following, we need more followers. Well, if you're only going to get 3% and it's costing £1 to get a follower, well, only £3 of that is being spent correctly. Because only 3% of your followers are seeing that content. Now, that will differ, I'm just saying this is an average between across all our clients, but that's still such a small number. And the reason is, Facebook now have shareholders. And what they want is more money. So an organic has gone down and paid has gone up. And it's just really, really simple. TikTok is the other end of that spectrum because they're in their infancy and they've just come to market. So remember, whenever we're going back to using these formats and these platforms, what are we trying to do, and are we actually playing to their rules? Because we've got to play to their rules, otherwise it won't work for you. So in terms of this sort of engagement piece that I speak about, and obviously I use that term a lot during this, when you do engage an audience, things happen. It's really simple. You get an increase in sales, you get a better quality lead because you're putting the right content in front of the right people. And something I must stress about engagement in terms of your audience is that within probably all of your businesses, you have different types of customers with different demographics. So when you are putting out content, don't be afraid to put out content that is only going to suit 10 or 15% of your audience. Because what you're doing then is actually feeding into Facebook's algorithm going, I'm not just going to put a bland, if you're a travel firm, picture of a beach. Well, not everyone goes to a beach every year. Actually put content out that's going to potentially just engage 15 or 10% of that market. And your engagement will be low from an overall, but actually if you don't get an increase in a better quality lead because that particular lead is coming is engaged with that piece of content, again, that's better for your business. You get cheaper costs because we're engaged in the market, so your CPMs are coming down. You'd like to think you get a higher lead conversion because again, you're putting the right content from the right people to get the right leads. You get a higher click-through rate, and then you get better higher lead conversion forms. And then the 4 hours there, talking about sort of that piece of the pie earlier, is we as UK adults here in the UK, on average, spend 4 hours on our social media platforms every single day, which is a huge amount of time. So going back in terms of Facebook, and then we've got places like Instagram now, we've got to keep pace that rule of engagement. We've got to keep people on their platform. If you're taking people away from Facebook to maybe a website or a landing page, you've got to make sure that it's good. You've got to make sure, because you are running the risk of your CPM increasing. And it's not that it still can't work for your business. You should be very conscious that you are potentially going to get a little hit there in terms of CPM. But you've got to, like I said, we've got to play to their rules, which is that engagement base. Oh, wrong way. There you go. Brilliant. In terms of Facebook forms versus, or lead forms versus landing pages, I love a landing page. For donkey's years, as long as we've been going, I've said, don't use Facebook forms because they're pants. Really bad. And we would have clients that would say 33% of the leads were rubbish. You'd call them straight away and they'd go, I haven't put my details in. And still to this day, I don't have the answer to why that was. Since the iOS update, Facebook have really tried to get lead forms better, essentially better quality. And they've done this in a few ways. You can now personalise the forms. So if you're in the B2B space, where you might be a solicitor, you can customise these lead forms to be about your business, not just name, telephone number, and email address. You can, again, you can really get creative. They're not going to be as sexy as a landing page, we know that, but in terms of actually customise them for what you're trying to achieve, then they're brilliant. What you can also do is change the email address. Now, when probably a lot of us set up our email addresses on Facebook, they were probably the ones we had as teenagers. Mine's like urquhart@hotmail.com for years. I couldn't even know how to get to it now. But you can now actually get rid of that email address and put your business one on. So we're seeing, especially with some of our B2B clients, especially if we put in the right content in front of the right clients, prospects, they actually change that email to a business email. You'll still see a high percentage of free domains, the Gmails, etc. But we are seeing that increase. And something else they've done in the last few weeks is actually put a filter now. So the first question when you enter a lead form, you can weed out the ones that aren't applicable to your business. So it might be around budget. Have you got a budget of less than £500 for PPC? If you have, they'll click that and you can literally weed them out straight away, rather than originally we would still get those, and obviously the sales team would then have to disqualify them very quickly. So Facebook is really trying to get these lead forms better, and again, from an engagement piece and keeping people on the platform, that's why they're doing that, because we need to keep people on the platform. Landing pages. I would still recommend using landing pages. I think they're brilliant. For every business should use them. You can customise them as you want. You get your brand, your tone of voice, testimonials, video content on there. So what I'd say is, if you are using paid social, just split test between lead forms and landing pages. It's not that one's not right for one other. You might have a campaign that we're actually using both and they're both working brilliantly. I would just say test, but make sure that your CPMs aren't massively rising, because Facebook can't see how people are interacting with that landing page. So just a little caveat on that. But like I said, absolutely love landing pages, but Facebook is really trying to get these lead forms in a better state for us as marketers. So my top tip is really simple, is you've got to use video content. We now as consumers are on a phone all the day, our attention spans are dwindling, and with the rise of TikTok, we're now used to seeing more and more and more video content. So I would recommend anyone that isn't using video content, go and create it. And now you've got no excuse, because we've all got smartphones. And these are brilliant. I know obviously we've got some cool camera guys here today, but for a lot of small business out there, you can use your phones and they're brilliant. So everyone here today can do a video and put it online. And in terms of the content you need to put out there, this is always one that our clients ask us, what type of content? I don't know what to say to camera. Well, speak to the receptionist or someone who answers your phone and ask them the top 10 questions they get asked every week. That is your content there. And that's free of charge. That's it. That is all the content you need. And the term that you used earlier, which is evergreen, that content will be evergreen, because it's the same 10 questions you're probably going to get asked for the next 10 years. So apart from maybe making the video look a bit sexier maybe, but the actual content of that video never has to change. Again, it's really, really simple. Everything I speak about you can literally implement without an agency, but use those 10 questions, and what I would say in terms of those questions is make sure that they're in a place where your audience is. So if your audience is on TikTok, put those videos on TikTok. If they're on Facebook or Instagram, put them there. But make sure they're native. So make sure those videos are native to that platform. You'll know and you'll see that TikTok videos are very different than the ones you'll see on things like Instagram and on Facebook. So just make sure when you are producing video content, they are native to that platform. Now, again, Why video? Keep them engaged. People like to watch videos now compared to things like static images or carousels. So it's keeping people on that platform, and we're feeding into algorithm, which is keeping people engaged and on the platform. And there are two type of videos I always recommend. The first one is a value exchange, which is like those top 10 questions, so that's pretty easy to do. The second one is humour. Humour is very hard. It's very subjective. Some of you might find my gag earlier about the email funny, some of you clearly didn't. It's really hard to get right. So what I would say, the rule of thumb with humour is, would you put it in your WhatsApp group with your mates? And if you wouldn't, it's not funny enough. It's really as simple as that. So if you are going to go down the humour route, which is difficult, use that as a rule of thumb. And in terms of sort of Facebook ads, this should be in your marketing arsenal for every single business, and it's still cheap. It's really cheap. And this is some cost we get at the moment for a couple of clients. It's costing 2p for someone to watch 3 or more seconds of a video online on Facebook right now. That's manageable for pretty much every business in here. It's costing around 70p to get someone to watch a video and click on a lead form. And then those actually go through for a lead are 28% more likely to convert from a video ad than they would a static image. And in terms of that cost per 1,000 impressions, right now we're seeing an average cost of £1.55. So even local firms that haven't got huge budgets, this is still accessible to every single person in this room because it's still so cheap. So it's got to be in your marketing arsenal. It's got to be in there. And then in terms of video, there's sort of a bit of an elephant in the room when it comes to video, which is live video. And again, it sort of plays into that algorithm and keeping people on the platform. Facebook, Instagram love live video. They absolutely love it because you're keeping people engaged on their platform. And we see for our clients that do it, they get 6 times more interactions than they would just doing a normal video. I personally don't do it myself, so I can't say I practice what I preach. But for those that have got firms that are localised, whether it's a local builder, solicitor's firm, I think it's a really nice way to get and interact with your community, especially localised businesses. You can get your face out there, your personal brand, and again, it's authentic. You know, live video is really authentic in compared to sort of like the really cool, slick videos out there. Again, it's accessible to everyone. Everyone can just go on, click live, and again, maybe even answer those 10 questions. Even if you answer 2 of those questions a week, you've got 5 weeks worth of content for yourself. So again, it's something I'd recommend. I don't do it myself, but we do see some brilliant results for clients. So you'll see that obviously I'm a big fan of Facebook ads, and everyone should be doing them in some manner within their business. It's accessible to everyone. It's still cheap enough, and in terms of results, you can still get some fantastic results. So we're going to go through this ad strategy now, which is, like I said, it's really simple. If you want a copy, come grab one. There's a lot more detail in the actual brochure than there is online, because I didn't want to bore you with Ads Manager. But let's go on to it. So we all know this sort of funnel. We've all had funnels whacked down our throat for the last couple of years. So I'm going to change it. So the top funnel is now called the snare. Now what we're going to try and do here, we're trying to engage an audience. So we're going to set up an ad. It's got to be a video ad. And it's potentially got to be one of those 10 questions that we spoke about earlier. And all you're going to do is serve that video to your audience and demographic on Facebook. And we want 2 things to happen. They either watch the video or they don't watch the video. That's all we want them to see. Now, for the ones that do watch them, we're going to set up 2 little custom audiences. One that have watched 3 seconds in the last 30 days, and one that have watched 3 seconds in the last 5 days. Really simple, but it's got to be a video, and it's got to be, like I said, there's got to be some value exchange there. It's got to be a tip if you're like a solicitor, builder, whatever it may be. You've got to really give that value exchange there. And there's just a couple of samples of some video content. Again, apart from just on the top right, the 2 at the bottom, this is accessible to everyone. This is just filmed on iPhones. So once someone's watched that first video, what we're now going to do is serve them and offer. Now this has got to be a decent offer. Not free delivery, not 5% off. It's got to be a really, really good offer, a real head turner of, I can't say no to this. And we're going to serve this to people who have watched the ad in the last 30 days. So they're initially going to watch that video, 3 or more seconds, then they're going to get served with an ad, which is an offer. Now this can be a video or static image. We don't see massive different results in either one. I would just say test and see what works for your business. Really simple. And again, we've got some examples there. And then what we're going to do is on the sort of bottom of funnel, which we're going to call the BFF, we're going to be serving a testimonial to those that have watched the ad. We're going to remove the audience of them watching the last 5 days, and then the 25 days or more, we're going to then serve the ad, which is a testimonial. So they've watched the initial ad, they then get an offer. The ones that haven't then converted, we want to tip them over the edge with a testimonial. And this is a really, really simple strategy. It's really simple. And it doesn't cost a load of money to start understanding how Facebook ads work, what's creative, what copy can work, what audiences. In a way, like I said, it's just a nice way to start, for those that haven't used Facebook ads, just start understanding how to run ads, what costs you'll get in terms of your CPMs, and ultimately if it can work for your business. And that is the end of my presentation. I have got a couple of QR codes here. Just if anyone does want to set up the strategy and you're struggling because you haven't used Facebook ads before, you're struggling with Ads Manager, we've got the ads clinic there, which one of my team will jump on with you and help you set that up. If you just say it's one of the free ad strategies, I'll give you a hand. So if any of you are, do want to set it up and are struggling, please, you're more than welcome to speak to one of our team. But thank you very much. I hope you have a great day, and thank you all for your time. Thank you.